Show here on this beautiful Thursday, September 16th, 2021. We have a lot to get to in a short amount of time. We're going to try to get this done in about 40 minutes, somewhere around there, hopefully, before tonight's Thursday night primetime game with the New York Giants taking on the Washington football team. So, with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? Well, to get the show started, we're going to go right to the Week 2 Power Rankings that actually came out yesterday, finally. I'm surprised they didn't come out Tuesday, but I guess it is what it is. But they came out yesterday, and so we're going to go down the list, name off all 10, and then we're going to kind of talk about that briefly, so let's go with that. So, at number 10, they got the Baltimore Ravens. At number 9, the New Orleans Saints. 8, Pittsburgh Steelers. At 7, San Francisco 49ers. 6, the Cleveland Browns. 5, the Buffalo Bills. 4, the Los Angeles Rams. 3, the Seattle Seahawks. 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it's a good top 10, I'd say, for the most part. There's a couple decisions in there where it's like, what the fuck? You know, this should definitely be a little different, especially that Buffalo Bills at 5, Pittsburgh Steelers at 8. They just played each other. Pittsburgh won. You'd expect, Pittsburgh should be listed above them. Probably not too much above them because they are. I mean, they had a fucking tough-ass game there last Sunday. So I do think, that should be a little closer. If the Buffalo Bills are put ahead of them, they should only be 1 spot ahead of them compared to fucking 4 or 3 spots ahead of them. So I think they got to change that a little bit on it, and I'm sure they will. But as we all know, these power rankings are probably based solely off of roster and what the PFF grades are and stuff like that. Who has the best team going forward and stuff like that. So, but another one, okay? Kansas City Chiefs at 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2. I understand. Okay, I can understand this completely. The Kansas City Chiefs are looking like that team that's just going to put up a fuck ton of points in a random point of the game and win the game, move on, and continue to do that down the season, which they have done in the past. Last year they did that quite a bit. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay, they weren't ranked number 1 on the power rankings coming into the season or coming into week 1. Okay, and that's because, obviously, Super Bowl champs, they should be number 1. Well, they didn't lose. Okay, just like the Kansas City Chiefs, they didn't lose week 1, so you'd expect them to stay 1 and the Chiefs to stay 2. So I feel like that could be worked out. If these two teams played each other again, I think at the beginning of the season, like right now, if you were to play, I guess you could give the edge to the Kansas City Chiefs because it'd be a tougher scenario. But I think as the time goes on, you're going to get Tom and that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense and defense really warmed up, okay? And they're going to look good towards the end of the season. So if they meet in that Super Bowl game again, it could be a different story. Or, the same story as last year, and whatnot. But, hey, the Rams, they looked really good. I like that 4 spot. With the Seattle Seahawks, though, that's interesting, okay? Because Seattle Seahawks are up here, Rams are up here. Who else is it? And the Niners are up here, okay? 3 teams of the NFC West. The one team that's not in the top 10 that blows my fucking mind. The Arizona Cardinals. Okay, we just watched the Arizona Cardinals come out Sunday and absolutely just piss all over the Tennessee Titans, okay? Chandler Jones had 5 sacks by the third quarter, 3 in the first quarter, which his third one was his 100th career sack. Okay, this team was flying around. Isaiah Simmons made a couple plays. Budda Baker made a lot of plays. This is a tough defense, and that offense can put up points. We've seen DeAndre Hopkins do his regular thing, get 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray looking like he's playing in a video game, like something out of Madden, And then you got AJ Green looked pretty solid there too. That offensive line's real tight-knit. They got Rodney Houston from the Raiders this offseason. He's a good addition at center for him. Okay, this Cardinals team is really good. And I don't understand why they're not in the top 10. I don't necessarily think they should be above the Seahawks or Rams. I think it's, Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals are the 3 teams we all got to worry about in that AFC West. You do have to worry about the 49ers. But, hey, they just lost their starting running back, Raheem Mostert, even though Elijah Mitchell came in, did phenomenal, put up about 102, 105 yards, somewhere around there, and a touchdown or 2 or something like that. So that's pretty decent for them, but that defense is where, they're going to make their money for the San Francisco 49ers. Not so much their offense yet, but hey, if Jimmy Garoppolo can all of a sudden get that throwing go and get a lot of yards during games, get a couple touchdowns, that's going to be a scary, scary team. Okay? I doubt we're going to see any more of Trey Lance. I guarantee you that one play we've seen of Trey Lance was, just get him that NFL stat, get him that one out of the way so that, hey, he can't come back to us later and be like, hey, I haven't taken any NFL snaps before. They wanted to make sure he had, some type of experience with, especially in a red zone, 5 yards out from the touchdown. That's big, okay? You got the whole stadium staring at you. Don't fuck this up. And he did. He scored a touchdown, or he threw a touchdown pass. So, the 49ers are interesting. At 7, I still think, obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers are better than them. The Saints, for sure, are looking better than a lot of these teams on this list. I think they played better than the 49ers, even though, because you got to look at this. The 49ers, the whole game pretty much pissed all over the Lions, okay? Was winning that game with ease. Then they let the Lions and MCDC come back and, almost walk away with a win during that game. So it's questionable there. The Baltimore Ravens, I don't know if it was necessarily the crowd noise or what it was, but, they looked a little rough offensively. They really couldn't get anything going, to stay going, I should say, consistently throughout the game. There was a couple drives where they got it or kept it going, kept it rolling as the game went on. But at 10, I feel like that's a little too high. I think that's where you could probably slide in the Cardinals at 10, and I'm not really sure 100% where they are. I believe they're not too far behind the 10 ranking. I did go look at it, but I can't remember off the top of my head because I watched that last night and I just overviewed the top 10 here today before the show. So, this is an interesting Week 2 power rankings. Now, last year I did my own power rankings, and I did all right. There were some times where my decisions I felt like were not the greatest. Power rankings are tough to come out with because week to week you learn something new about a team, okay? Or injuries happen and stuff like that. So it's really hard to see, do I bump this team up this many spots or do I bump this team down, and stuff like that. But I debated on doing it this year, and maybe I'll do it come, like halfway point in the season, maybe like after week 6 or something like that, because that's when you really, get a full understanding of what all these teams are and what they're about to do during the rest of the season, and if they're actually going to be good or not, and see if they're actually worth a damn. But maybe I'll do it then. I'll give you probably just my top 10 list, because at that point I feel like that's a pretty solid top 10. Those are the 10 teams that I can see making the playoffs, especially a playoff push. So maybe we can do that in the future. But for now, we're just going to stick to, the NFL on ESPN, I guess, on their Instagram, coming out with their top 10 and seeing, and going from there. All right? But now we're going to switch gears to Hard Knocks. That's right. Okay, Hard Knocks just finished with a 5-episode season on the Dallas Cowboys in their training camp. Well, they released a video, and I'm not really sure what to think about it. Okay, like there's a whole bunch of there's a couple different things running through my mind, but I'll show you guys show you right now this video. It is on Instagram. It is on the NFL app if you guys want to go look at it again. But I will show you. Try to get right there. Find out when and where it's headed next. Hard Knocks is going somewhere else. Not sure what this means. They usually announce the Hard Knocks team a couple weeks before training camp actually gets underway. So this is very interesting news because I doubt they're going to go away. But I think I think Pat McAfee said it best on his show when he said, I think with all the teams now in the NFL having their own social media platform, putting out all these videos of practice and games and stuff like that, we're already getting our Hard Knocks kind of, view, I guess, of what NFL life or everyday life of an NFL player is actually like. And so I think Hard Knocks kind of understands that. And they're going to try something new. And I don't know exactly what it's going to be. We're going to find out tonight at halftime or during the game. But my guess, and this would be awesome, is that they might go follow a team during the regular season. Not for the whole season, probably just a couple weeks, give us a little glimpse here and there. And who knows? Okay, I think, what was it? Another good suggestion was by Boston Connor or on the Pat McAfee show as well. He said maybe they do a multiple teams, a couple different teams here and there, and then they bring them, every Sunday or every Tuesday during the season. We got video, Hard Knocks footage of what these guys are going through even during the regular season. Okay, another thing that popped up in my mind about this was playoffs. They could do playoffs. But I shot that down instantly, and I bet a lot of you did too as soon as you heard playoffs, why. But that would be very, very bad. I'm sure a lot of head coaches, a lot of GMs, a lot of owners, especially players, would not want that distraction in their way, especially when they're trying to go win a Vince Lombardi trophy and win a ring and stuff like that. So I doubt that's the case. But I have a very, very good feeling that we are going to be seeing Hard Knocks during the regular season for the first time of Hard Knocks history, and that would be awesome. Okay, that would be electrifying. I feel like as long as they don't make it corny, as long as they don't make it boring, if they get good storylines, follow teams that have these massive storylines to follow, that would be awesome. I mean, you can go look at the Baltimore Ravens. They lost all of their running backs basically. Had to go get Le'Veon Bell, Devonta Freeman, and stuff like that. And then you can go look at even the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase couldn't catch a goddamn ball in the preseason. Now all of a sudden he's starting to catch the ball here and there and making some fucking plays. That's a big story. You can go talk, the Washington football team. They're playing tonight. They're out without Ryan Fitzpatrick. We'll get to that later. So there's things that Hard Knocks could do, and it's going to be really interesting to see what direction they're going to take and how they're going to do this. I'm all in for it. School sports. Maybe some college for some of you out there. We're not professional athletes. We have no fucking clue what it's like at the next level, okay? What they do, what's their everyday routine and stuff like that. And it'd be kind of interesting to see that dive in a little bit deeper. Not too much, obviously, but you just get to see the practices. It'd be like, during the regular season, like for instance, training camp. When you get to go, visit all these training camps as a fan, that's kind of, something you're going to get a taste of, is that practice, meetings and stuff and sessions like that. So it'll be interesting to see where Hard Knocks goes, and hey, we'll find out halftime, I guess, tonight during the game against the Giants and Washington football team. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Well, that brings me to my next piece of information. Okay, we're talking about film. Hard Knocks is all film, footage and stuff like that. Well, apparently, it was said that Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins sat down for the first time to watch film together since 2018. The last time the Vikings made the playoffs, I believe. Wait. Yeah, I think we did win that, or go to the playoffs that year. This is worrisome, all right? A little bit, to an extent. As a head coach, you think you'd want to be on the same page as your quarterback. You'd want to see, to give his you want to see what he thinks happened during some plays, what he would do differently, what he would change, stuff like that. Okay, you'd want to know that, especially after a loss or especially after week to week. You want to know what's going on in your quarterback's mind. How can I make him, become more successful down the road? So it's a little worrisome. Like, why haven't these guys been watching film together? Has Kirk, been watching it by himself? I'd assume not. Obviously he's going to watch film by himself, but I think he's watching film more with, the quarterback coach or Clint Kubiak, the Vikings offensive coordinator, and trying to figure stuff out other than Mike Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer is a defensive coordinator. Okay, he's a defensive guy. Okay, he goes out there. He was a cornerbacks coach for the Dallas Cowboys years ago, and I believe the Cincinnati Bengals. Then he comes over and he's the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings. So it makes sense why they probably won't watch film together, being that Zimmer is a defensive minded guy. But at the same time, if he's a defensive minded guy, you're an offensive minded guy. Okay, you're gonna get takes from both sides. What's that defense giving you? Well, Zimmer's going to be able to tell you what that defense is going to give you, where he thinks you should throw the ball, which would give you the best probability or the best outcome of that play to help your team succeed. And Kirk Cousins could be like, oh, okay, well, if I go there, why couldn't I go over here? And Zimmer could, explain that. So it's a little interesting to see this information come out because, like I said, you'd expect your quarterback and your head coach to talk every single week after every game to really, hit all those, what ifs on the nose, or all those, negatives on the nose, and get it situated before the season, before it becomes too late, is what I'm trying to say. So that's an interesting piece of news that came out about Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins finally watching film together for the first time. At the same time, this could all just be rumors and could all be just bullshit, and obviously, it could all just be bullshit. And they could literally be watching film together every single week, especially after every game, and maybe somebody finally is like, let's just throw out a story there for the Minnesota Vikings, because they really ain't got nothing going besides they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone's really healthy, ever since Griffin's back, but that story's kind of over and done with, so what do we do? Fuck it. Zimmer and Kirk watching film for the first time. I walked by the room, seen them. I think we should talk about that. Pretty cool. So that's probably what they rolled with, but hey, who knows? Maybe if this is true, I think it is a little worrisome, but at the same time, hey, it's the NFL. These guys are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing and what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right, so I have nothing but faith, I guess. It's kind of hard to say that, but, I got faith for Kirk. I got hope, nothing but hope for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings this year. That's all we can really have here is just hope, because, we can never expect to win like, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We kind of roll the dice and take the punches as they come, but, this is something to kind of watch, see how the season unfolds, because Zimmer came out at halftime, I believe, last game and said, Kirk has to get the ball off more, has to throw the ball away, and protect it a little bit more so we can get those bigger plays so we're not stuck on 3rd and 12, or 3rd and 7 and stuff like that. So, this is interesting. We'll continue to follow this if it becomes, obviously any big time news, and especially during the season if the record starts to go down or starts to go up. See, this week I believe we got the Cardinals, so that's going to be a tough test. Okay, I don't know what to expect about that game, but it's going to be a tough one. Okay, it's fucking, Chandler Jones, 5 sacks, on pace for 85 this year. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's on pace to break the sack record by week 5, so we'll leave it at that. All right, now going to some more injury news. We got a couple pieces of information on that before we get to the game preview. So we got the Jets finally activating wide receiver Jamison Crowder. He was coming off some rehab, I believe, so he wasn't ready to go last week. But they're coming off loss to the Panthers, 14-19. And they got the Patriots this week, okay? They need a little bit more firepower, okay? Last week, they only had Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, and Denzel Mims. Corey Davis, he had 5 catches, 97 yards, 2 tutties. I believe Braxton Berrios, he also had 5 catches for, 51 yards. And then Denzel Mims, 1 catch for 40 yards. Okay, so their offensive production isn't terrible. But you add in, Jamison Crowder, who was their number 1 receiver last year. That adds just a little bit more firepower, especially with that rookie quarterback and Zach Wilson, the rookie head coach, and Robert Saleh. This Jets team is, we've talked about it. They're not good. They're trending up. They're not going to be terrible by any means, but they're obviously not going to be the greatest as well. This hockey puck one day is going to roll right into this, and it's just going to break it. I'm going to be pissed. Because that shit, I've had to put that together multiple times, and it sucks. But anyways, this is big news, okay, for the Jets. They're looking to come out against, a division opponent in the New England Patriots and try to walk away with a dub, which is definitely going to be hard. I mean, they went into Carolina. They played a tough-fought game. I believe that defense is ready to roll, especially with Robert Saleh being a defensive-minded guy. He's going to get that defense off to the right start, and I believe he did. He did lose, obviously, 14-19, but, 5 points, that's 1 possession game, so I believe he can turn around a little bit. They're not going to get many wins. Don't expect that. It still is the New York Jets. They're a very young team. I think Mekhi Becton actually had a season-ending injury that we didn't talk about. I believe he tore his ACL, so he's done for quite some time. So the Jets have some issues. They have some holes, especially that offensive line. They have to protect Zach Wilson a little bit better and a little bit longer in order for them to make some noise. But, bringing back Jamison Crowder to add with Corey Davis, who was a really good Tennessee Titans receiver last year, this could be a big time offense for the New York Jets, especially if they get a healthy offensive line and an offensive line that wants to play together and have that chemistry and camaraderie around them. It could be interesting. I don't think they're going to get a win in against the New England Patriots because Mac Jones and them coming off that loss. against the Miami Dolphins. I just don't see them losing again, especially when you got Bill Belichick. They're not going to lose back-to-back weeks very often, so it's going to be interesting who walks away victorious. I think it's obviously going to be the New England Patriots. By how much, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's still going to be a back-and-forth battle, maybe until probably halftime. Okay, it's going to be close till halftime, and then at halftime, I think the New England Patriots are slowly going to separate themselves from the Jets. So it's going to be a good game, but hey, I thought I'd bring that in there because Jamison Crowder, especially for your fantasy football teams, he could make some noise. Okay, he was their number one receiver last year, and we'll see how he connects with Zach Wilson this week against the Patriots. But hey, they got some depth at wide receiver. Okay, they got 4 top guys: Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder, Braxton Berrios, and Denzel Mims, who are all capable of doing good things. So I think the Jets are trending in the right direction. They got a tough week coming up, but hey, they got Jamison Crowder back. That's good news for Jets fans, especially for fantasy owners of Jamison Crowder, because who knows, you might want to start him, but I mean, he is the Jets player, so it's up to you. Also, another news on injury, we got Odell Beckham Jr., okay, for the Cleveland Browns, okay? We all thought going into this offseason, obviously he was rehabbing, but we thought, hey, week 1, Odell Beckham is fucking back. Well, okay, he ultimately suited up, went to the pregame, warm-up routine, went through that a little bit, see how ready he was, for this game, if he was capable of playing at 100%. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he ultimately decided, hey, I'm not ready. I'm not feeling 100%. There's just something weird here. I don't know what it is, but I'm not ready. Okay, so he's not going to play week 1. That broke, obviously before the game was played. So that was some big news. Okay, Odell Beckham not playing week 1. He's not quite ready, but he was, trying to see if he was ready. So he had the pads on. He was warming up and stuff like that. So that's good news. All right, so that puts you. That's what makes you start thinking, all right, week 2, Odell Beckham should be back. That's awesome, especially if you guys have him on fantasy and stuff like that. That's awesome. Okay, week 2, be good. Well, before their game, actually long before their game, it just broke yesterday that Odell Beckham Jr. has been ruled out for week 2 against the Houston Texans. Now, this is some big news, okay, obviously. He wasn't 100% last week, but he is ready, and he will be ready at some point. And I understand not being ready. Kevin Stefanski came out pretty much and did this right on the nose, said, hey, Houston Texans, they're not supposed to be a good team. Last week could be a fluke. Let's not risk it. This offense still looked good without you in it. Let's take it easy. Let's give you a rest. Bring you back week 3 when we play the Bears, and then week 4 against the Vikings. And then you're healthy for those big games because those are gonna be tough against really good defenses. Where you gotta go play a Houston defense that could be good, could be bad. Who knows? So I like this decision. It helps Odell Beckham Jr. out. It helps the Browns out as an organization, because what happens if he's not 100% and he goes out there and he fucks it up again? Right? That's just something you don't want as an organization, as a fan base, as a fantasy football owner, and stuff like that. So, smart decision. I believe he's going to be back. I think Ian Rappaport even said it on the Pat McAfee show that, hey, expect him back week 3. Week 3 would be a good scenario. Week 4 he should be back against the Minnesota Vikings, but for sure. He is out week 2 against the Houston Texans, but that's a good thing. Okay, like I said, that offense was moving really solid against the Kansas City Chiefs. They have some things to obviously clean up at the end of the game and stuff like that. But you're not going to be too worried going against the Houston Texans, who are not a good team or who haven't looked or we haven't thought is going to be a good team. They might be a good team, so it's a good decision to let him sit out. Now another injury, the last one before we get to the game preview. DeMarcus Lawrence for the Dallas Cowboys is out 6 to 8 weeks because he had surgery this morning on a broken foot that he suffered yesterday during practice. Now, this is huge. Okay, Cowboys just got Dak Prescott back. Okay, just got healthy, just got out of training camp. DeMarcus Lawrence really didn't play anyone at all. Then they go and they have a really, really good fucking game. Okay, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, they lose 29-31. They probably should have won that game, but they gave Tom a minute and 24 seconds too much to win that. So, this is a big hit to that Dallas Cowboys team. All right, especially when in a year where you're looking for wins, not losses. This is a hit to their defense. Okay, Lyle Collins, he's not playing. He's a linebacker. I believe Zach Martin's on COVID-19 list. All right, there's big names out there that are hurt, and that defense played, I'd say, really, really solid against that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. So going forward, who knows what they're really going to be capable of putting up. I forgot to check, really, who they are playing this week. Well, let me go check that quick. Off the top of my mind, I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to be wrong. But this is a big, big hit, okay, for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they are playing the Chargers. That's big. Okay, the Chargers. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. Oh, yeah, Hunter Henry's not there. So they got, a tight end there that might be good. Who knows? But the Chargers team has offensive weapons. They have a good offensive line. So it's going to be tough to put, pressure on the quarterback at times. They're going to give Justin Herbert a little bit more time to make better throws, better decisions, maybe win the game. It all really is going to depend on who that backup is coming in for DeMarcus Lawrence and if he can play enough or can play up to, the standards of what a DeMarcus Lawrence would be able to do. Okay, this is solely on him and that offense, that Dallas Cowboys offense, because they're going to be able to put up, Dak's going to throw fucking 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns maybe or something like that. Maybe with the pick, Zeke Elliott, who knows what he's going to do. He was supposed to have a stellar week 1, didn't do shit, but that was because Vita Vea is a wrecking ball, to say the least. But big hit to the Dallas Cowboys here. Okay, they could go 0-2 right off to start to start their season, and it's a big possibility because without DeMarcus Lawrence, like I said, you're unable to put as much pressure on the quarterback as you once were. You're going to get less sacks. You're probably going to get less pass deflections. You're going to make him, have more time, like I said, to make better decisions, and that could be worrisome for your team and for the outcome of the score, for your fan base, for Jerry Jones. Who knows, man? He's getting old. Who knows? He might have a heart attack if he goes 0-2. That would suck. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. Don't wish that upon anybody. But it's a scenario in my head that, who knows, it could happen. Now is the time to talk about tonight's game, which is the New York Giants taking on the Washington football team. This should be a pretty good battle, okay? Most of you are probably thinking, well, Giants, Washington. No, I'm not going to watch. This is garbage primetime. Why is this relevant right now? Well, I'll tell you what. It's a good primetime game for a couple reasons. Everyone's, just dogging on that New York Giants offense. Yeah, they probably weren't able to move the ball consistently down the field. You go look at the stat line. Sterling Shepard, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Daniel Jones, 264 passing yards, I believe, 2 touchdowns. He also had 1 touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown he was their leading rusher, I believe, with 64 yards. I believe Saquon Barkley only had 40-some rushing yards. Okay, so that's worrisome on that end of it. So I think Danny Dimes is doing just fine with that New York Giants team. Can we get Saquon Barkley fucking going, though? That's the question. This dude, put this in a fantasy owner's perspective, all right? We're not going to talk about points or anything. I guess we can have to, but he's there 1 week, and then you can't find him for the next 3, and then he's finally back. The consistency is nowhere to be found. The dude gets hurt, okay? He's unable to play a full, healthy season, and when he is, yeah, he's a dog. But who knows how it's going to, go this entire season. I mean, hell, I believe, they played the Broncos last week. Yeah, they have Bradley Chubb. Yeah, they have, Von Miller. Yeah, they have a good defensive line and corners and stuff like that. But you're Saquon fucking Barkley. Your legs are literally the width of the computer screen, dude. That is huge. You should be able to run straight through people. I mean, granted, it is, NFL. It is NFL athletes. You're tackling big people, but I mean, it's going to be interesting. That what I'm worried about is their defense. Their defense played fine, but at the same time, they played the Broncos, and yeah, you're able to hold that team because who knows who the legitimate starting quarterback is going to be. Is it going to be Teddy all year? Is it going to be Drew Lock? Who knows? That offensive, weapons. They lost Jerry Jeudy during that game, but I think he's going to be back. I think he's listed as week to week, but I think they're defensively they're better than they are offensively. Once they establish that run game, I think they're going to be better off. But they're playing a Washington football team who has a defensive front four that are, I mean, these guys are good. Last week they really didn't show it too much against the Los Angeles Chargers, but that goes right back to that really good offensive line like we were talking about with DeMarcus Lawrence. They weren't able to really do much. They lost 17-15, I believe, or something like that. Okay, so, this Washington defense has to pick it up. It's going to be really interesting. I think defensively they're going to be fine against the Giants. They're going to be able to stop Saquon for the most part. He's probably only have like 60 to 70 yards rushing. Danny Dimes might have himself a pretty decent game. Hopefully he doesn't throw a pick or something like that. But Washington football team lost to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tonight is the start of the Taylor Heineke show. And I am pumped. We seen it last year, okay? This dude in prime time, the last time he played a prime time game, he threw 352 yards and 2 touchdowns and damn near beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go to the NFC Championship game. The dude's a prime time god from what I'm just kidding. Can't, overreact a little bit, but I'm pumped. This dude had a really good primetime game last year and it was in the playoffs. This dude can ball out. Everyone, really supported him. All got behind him and said, this is a dude. Like that, he's a dude. Like, we got to stay behind this guy. He's a good quarterback. We need him on our team. We got to make sure we sign him in the offseason. They end up signing him, keeping him on that roster with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick goes out with the hip issue. He's going to go with rehab instead of surgery, which he'll probably do surgery after the year, maybe retire or something like that. Who knows that? Well, that'll be breaking news. But Heineke, it is your time, dude, and I could not be more excited. Like, what can this dude do? I mean, let's go. I think he went 11 for 15, 140-some yards, a touchdown. I mean, this dude balled out last week, and that's good. That's very good news, especially for Washington football team fans around the world because, you need quarterback is the position that makes your team move or not. All right, that's where it starts, and that's where it ends. All right, let's go look. Yeah, Tyler Heineke, 11 for 15, 122 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 3 rushes, 17 yards. Okay, no fumbles, no picks. 119 quarterback rating. This guy did really good. Okay, this is going to be a battle tonight. It's going to be a very fun game to watch. It's going to be close. If it is a shootout, I think it's going to be Heineke behind that ball, throwing a Terry McLaurin. I think Curtis Samuel is still out, so there's a hit. But Logan Thomas, he's going to be a good tight end this year. So I'm really excited to watch this game. I hope you guys are too. Expect to watch a very tough fought game and a good one at that. And that is going to do it for today's show. Enjoy the rest of your night. Go watch tonight's game at 7:20 between the New York Giants and the Washington football team with that announcement of Hard Knocks at halftime. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Fantasy Football Friday, and I couldn't be more jacked even though I fucking lost in the league. That's okay. We'll continue to move forward as time goes on. Enjoy it. We'll see you tomorrow, and you just got your fix with the Wicks.